I need somebody to have their book out because I don't have enough room up here to do my book and all this other stuff. Just open it to the question. You got it? Thank you. All right. So number 3 was our first one. We're going to go over every question. You will have a recording on Monday of 4-7, like the review that you're going to have. You'll have a paper copy. We'll put it up here and you guys can go over it. Everybody good? It's not hard. It's not. I haven't yet. I had to know exactly what I was doing. Now, if we finish our homework and I can get to that 4-7, I can change how things are. It would be the only recording that you would have. Y'all understand that? Okay, I made it, so it's pretty easy. We're not gonna move on to chapter 5 until I get back. Got it? So that means you're gonna have somewhat busy work, but it's gonna be a review. Everybody good? All right, so just understand that I did that. So I just feel like I need to be in the classroom with you guys. If I were gonna be out a long, long time, it'd be one thing, but I'm not, so we're just gonna leave it at that. So, like I said, 4-7, if we can start it, I think it's only like 7 or 10 questions, and 1 and 2 are the same, 3 and 4 are the same, 5 and 6 are the same. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So if I get through every odd, you should be able to do it evens, and that's what we'll try. But otherwise, it'll be recorded. All right. This first one, this is the only one that I thought was like, I mean, the other ones are kind of hard to set up some of the problems, but this was a weird one because it never gave you a second number, if that makes sense. So this one asked about the sum of numbers and the product, but it never told you like their product was 26, so their product was blah, blah, blah. So the way that they set this up is they did x plus y equals the sum and xy equals the product. We need to plug one into the other. So I'm going to solve this one for y so that I can put the product in terms of x. Then replace it. And then multiply it out to get your product equation. After you multiply it out, you're going to take your derivative. S is going to be a constant. So what is your derivative of XS? What's your derivative of negative x squared? We're going to set that derivative equal to 0 and we're going to solve for x. So how do we solve for x? Yep. And then we get x equals s over 2. There's no number for s. So this is just one of those general equations. So I found out what x was. Now I need to figure out what y is. We said y was s minus x. If we put it in like terms, if not, you can put a 1 here. What's 1 minus 1/2? Just 1/2. So y is also s over 2. That's all of part 3. I mean, number 3. So again, this one was kind of weird because I had the general form. So I didn't like it. I probably shouldn't have signed it. But there it is. Not a hard question, just weird to look at. All right, what did number 5 ask? Same thing, but they gave you a number, right? So the product was 147. Perfect. So the one that has everything in it, so like the second one, it's not equal to anything because we don't know, is the one you're plugging into. So this is the one we're going to plug into and derive. Does everybody understand that? So the one that you have everything for, we're going to solve. Again, I like to put it in terms of x. It doesn't matter. I think this one, I put it in terms of y. You can do either one. It doesn't matter. Does everybody understand? So on this one, I'm going to just go with what I did. I solved for x. And I got 147 over y. Your only goal in this equation is to get the variables the same. It does not matter which variable you use. And in fact, if you did it the other way, it's still gonna have to find the derivative the same exact way. So if I rewrite this, this is the one I need to find the derivative of. So what is the derivative of 147y to the negative 1 plus 3y? Plus 3. This is the same thing as negative 147 over y squared plus 3. We're going to set it equal to 0. How do I solve it? I'm going to, it doesn't matter. Somebody said move the 147. You can move the 3. Again, doesn't matter. It's all going to come out the same. If you want to move the 147, that's fine. Both answers are correct. How do we solve it now? Cross multiply. I get 3y squared equals 147. Divide by 3. I get y squared equals 49. And then y equals what? Plus or minus 7, right? But can we use both of them? Why? Did it ask anything else? What did it say? What's the question? Read the question to me one more time. The what? Minimum. So we have to find the minimum. Is that very good? So how do we figure that out? How do we figure it out? You can put it in the calculator. We can do our chart. You guys have problems with that on your test, whether it was increasing or decreasing. Remember, your increasing versus decreasing tells you whether it's a minimum or a maximum. So what I would do, and this is just me because on the chart, I don't want to do the chart. Does everybody understand that? So I know that my X is either going to be positive or negative 7. I am going to go ahead and multiply or like find both of them and then see which one gives me the smaller when I do this. Does everybody understand? So I had a positive 7 for Y. So I have X times 7 equals 147. So what is X going to be? $21. And then I had X times negative 7, which gives me 147. This one would be what? Negative 21. So I want a minimum, right? All right. X plus 3y. If your X is positive 7, I'm sorry, if your X is 21, your Y was positive 7. What do we get? Which is 42. If I do it again, with my X was negative 21 when it was negative 7. What do I get? Which one's the minimum? There you go. Okay. On your test, it's a lot easier because it's multiple choice and you can actually just multiply it out. Multiply that. Is everybody good? All right. Number 7. What's this one say? We can say M for max, whatever, I don't care. This one I did the same thing. I just solved for X. So it looked like X would be easier to solve for. So I subtracted the 2y. So then I got 108 minus 2y times y is going to give us that maximum, or we're hoping it will. You're going to distribute that out so that you can take the derivative. What is your derivative? We're going to set that equal to 0. How do I solve? What is y going to equal? When it equals 27, we're just using 27. So then you plug it back in. Y is 27, so that means x is 108 minus 2 times 27, which is, sorry, y'all, 54. That's it. Does it look as hard now? It's really not that bad. Okay, when you start getting the weird ones to set up, that's different. Like 9 and 10 are perimeter and area of a rectangle. Those should be fairly easy equations that you know. The semicircle one was kind of weird. I could understand that one. Okay. All right, number 9. Number 9 asks for the area and then the perimeter. Tell me what it says one more time. So how do I find the perimeter of a rectangle? Good. Why did I do 2x and 2y? Rectangle top and bottom are the same, left and right are the same. So we can just multiply those by 2. How do we find the area? XY. Again, I don't care what you put it in terms of. If we solve for y. So let's solve this one for y to get it in terms of x. We're going to subtract 2x. Divide by 2. And you get 40 minus x. If you would have solved for y, I mean for x, you would have got the same thing. Okay. Plug it in. We have x and 40 minus x, which gives us 40x minus x squared. What's your derivative? We set that equal to 0. Add your 2x over. Divide by 2, we get x equals 20. How do we find our other measure? Y is 40 minus 20 or 20. Very good. On 11, they give you the actual area rather than the perimeter. So they tell you that the area is 32. And then they want the minimum perimeter. Max, I don't know, is it minimum or maximum? Doesn't matter, you're only gonna get one value anyway. I'm gonna do it in terms of x again. So we get x equals 32 over y. We're gonna plug it in, 32 over y plus 2y. Gives us 64 over y plus 2y, or 64y to the negative 1 plus 2y. What is the derivative? We're going to set that equal to 0. Remember, this is the same thing as negative 64y squared. And I'm going to go ahead and move my 2 over. Again, you don't, it's going to factor out anyway, so it doesn't matter which one you move. And cross multiply, I get negative 2y squared equals negative 64. When we divide by negative 2, we get 32. And then we take the square root. 32 is what? When I break it down, what are your factors of 32? 4, 4, and 2, so a bunch of 2s. So I have 2 pairs of 2, which is 4 square root of 2. If you gave me the decimal, I'm okay with that. The better answer is reducing that square root. And then you need to find x. So we had xy equals 32. Y was 4 square root of 2. We're going to divide by 4 square root 2. (32) divided by 4 is 8 square root 2. They don't like the square root of 2 on the bottom. So they multiply by the square root of 2 over 2. Sorry, y'all. Which gives you 8 square root of 2 over 2, and then 8 over 2 reduces to 4 square root of 2. They just happen to be the same. So this is not necessarily a rectangle. What is it? Square, same as the last one. Will they always come out the same? No. Right. 13 is the coordinate one. Which coordinate is the closest? So these are not hard problems. You will have them on the test. They're not hard problems. It's just the simplifying part underneath that'll get you. And I think one on the review is really crappy, just to let you know. Okay. All right. So the point's closest. That means we need to find the distance. So your distance formula. And I don't care what order you put it in. I would put your variables first though. Okay. I would put your variables first. It makes it a little bit easier when you're multiplying it out. So you have, sorry, that should be an X. You have an XY coordinate because that's the one we don't know. And they give you, what is your other coordinate? 2 and positive 1/2. I just want to make sure I did it right in my notes. So when you plug that into the distance formula, again, I would keep your variable in the beginning. Minus 2 squared plus y minus 1/2 squared. They also gave you another equation where y or f of x, they might give you f of x equals x squared. That's the equation that they're looking at. Is everybody good? This is what you use to clean up the distance formula so you only have one variable in here. So what is y? Y is x squared. It is not difficult when that is a single term. It becomes difficult when they put something like x squared minus 4. That's when it becomes like a crazy look. Okay. We're going to multiply these out, and I'm going to do them on the side so that you guys can see what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do the work over here. So x minus 2 squared. X times x is x squared. I have x times negative 2 and negative 2 times x. That gives you a negative 4x. And then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. So underneath here, that very first one gives you x squared minus 4x plus 4. This one I'm going to write all the way out just so that you can see it. It is the same exact work. What is x squared times x squared? X squared times negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 x squared. Negative 1/2 times x squared is negative 1/2 x squared. What is negative 1/2 times negative 1/2? Positive 1/4. 1/4. Remember, we multiply the tops and the bottoms, so 1 times 1 and 2 times 2. All right, clean up this middle, and I'm going to write it over here. So plus x to the 4th. What is a negative 1/2? What's a negative 1/2? Negative 1 x squared. And then we have a plus 1/4. We're going to clean that up. What happens? So our highest power is x to the 4th. My next highest power is negative 4x. And what is 4 plus 1/4? Yeah, or 4.25. You can use decimal 6 times. At this point, remember that your square root doesn't matter because you're just going to square it out anyway. So your f of x that you're going to work with is x to the 4th minus 4x plus 4.25. And that's what we're finding the derivative of. So we got to find the derivative. What is the derivative? Minus 4, the 425 goes away. That's where we're setting equal to 0. How do I solve it? Add the 4. And then divide 4. And then what's the cube root of 1? 1. So we know that our x is 1. How do we find our y? Go back to that equation. Y equals x squared. X is 1. So our coordinate is 1, 1. It is the same work each time. There, I got it. Your first two on your test are that sum and product. I think the next ones are, they might go in the same order. It might be area and perimeter, and then I know there's a couple of these on there. Very good. All right. 15. We're doing the distance again. Our coordinates are x, y, and 4, 0. What's wrong? I can't hear that. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Everybody good? Just make sure you get it done. All right. So what's going underneath my radical? We're going to talk about it in a minute. X minus 4 squared plus y minus 0 squared. She said, can I just put y squared? You absolutely can. I just want to write it all out just so you guys can see it. So what she's saying is, can I just put y squared? You absolutely can. Our helping equation is square root of x. I'm going to do all this at one time. X squared negative 8x and 16. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah, I hope so. Okay. And then we're going to replace y with the square root of x, but what am I doing to it? You're squaring it. So what's going to happen? It's just going to be what? Everybody got that? Okay. So again, right here, y squared would be the square root of x squared, or just x. Clean it up. X squared minus 7x plus 16. The inside of the radical is going to be your f of x. What's your derivative? We're going to set that equal to 0. And what do we get for x? So add that 7, divide by 2, we get 7 over 2. How do we find our y coordinate? Remember, y equals the square root of X, they're really nice in the fact that they just leave it like that. They don't rationalize it or anything. So again, your coordinate looks like this. You do have paper ones. So like 17, I know those are on your review. It said it wanted 30 square inches of print. And margins of 1 inch. But remember, margins are at the top, bottom, left, and right. So it's a piece of paper, it's a rectangle. So that means when I find the area, X times Y, I'm gonna get 30. Why didn't I add or subtract anything to that? Because it wanted the print. Okay, so that's why I just use X and Y. Now, when they find the area otherwise, what are we gonna add? Add 2 to each one. So the area of the actual paper is going to be X plus 2 times Y plus 2. I solved this one for Y and got 30 over X and then plugged it in over here. X plus 2, 30 over X plus 2. I'm going to write all this out. If you can simplify it while you do it, that is perfectly fine, but I'm going to write it all out. We're going to distribute. We get 30 times X is 30X over X. X times 2 is 2X. 2 times 30X. 2 times 30 is 60 over X. And then 2 times 2 is 4. What you'll notice is that these X's will cancel out. And then we have 2X. I'm going to go ahead and write it as 60X to the negative 1. And then 30 plus 4 is 34. We need to take the derivative. What is the derivative? To what? There you go. We're going to set that derivative equal to 0. I'm going to add that 60 over. And now I can cross multiply. I get 2x squared equals 60. X squared will equal 30. Square root of 30 will not reduce. That's as good as it gets. I did put the positive negative, but if we're talking about margins of paper or just dimensions of paper, we're only going to use what? Positive. If you want to give me the decimal, that's perfectly fine. How do we find our Y coordinate? Remember, Y was 30 over X, which is 30 over the square root of 30. But this is not what it asked for. What did it ask for? Find what? So we want the whole paper, right? Does everybody understand that? So be careful on that. We're going to add 2 to both of these. So your X is going to be square root of 30 plus 2, and your Y is going to be that 30 over the square root of 30 plus 2. You can leave it just like that. Don't stress out about it. All right. Any questions? 17. I said any questions about 17. Anybody ask for the peanut gallery? You should have seen, who was it over here that said something? Oh, the 1/2 times 1/2, and somebody said something, and then he was like 1/4. Like the Jones. That was a jerk move.
I said 1/4.
I know what you said, but then you looked at whoever over
I
here
didn't
said it
look at
right.
him. I did not.
If Sammy knows the answer, he is going to shame everyone for not knowing.
But if I know it,
You go back.
then
Hey, you gotta take this all pass and you gotta fill it out.
don't fill it out. Be a thug. Be a thug.
Those are so nice.
This is it.
And it is 10:10. All right, what does 19 say? Yeah, read the whole problem for me.
A farmer plants to a rectangular pasture adjacent to a river. The pasture must contain 45,000 square meters.
Stop right there. It's a rectangular pasture, 245,000 square feet. So what's my equation?
That's a lot.
Are y'all struggling? What's going on?
I got off somehow.
3 through 19 odd. 25, 29 through 35 odd. All right, continue reading.
Which had I and after grass for her, no fixing is needed on the river. What dimension will require the least amount?
Okay, so least amount of fencing, that's your perimeter, but we only have 3 sides, right? Because we have the river. So we have 2 of one, 1 of the other, gives perimeter. Doesn't matter which one you use. All right, solve it. I solved for y, which gave me 2n/4,5,0,0 over x. So 2 times that plus x is going to equal that p. That gives you 490,000 over x plus x equals p. Move that x to the top, find the derivative. What's the derivative of this? Move the x to the top. There we go. What goes on the bottom? Plus 1. We're going to set it equal to 0. You can move either one. It doesn't matter. If you want everything to be positive, do it like this. Cross multiply, you get x squared equals 490,000. Take the square root and you get 700. How do I find that other dimension? So we're going to plug it in up here. 245,000 divided by 700 gives you 350. That's it. Any questions? All right. 25 talked about a semicircle. Did it give you the equation? If you put this in here, it's a positive, so it's the top. Does everybody understand that? It's the top of the circle. And then it talks about the area of the rectangle underneath. So just so you know what they're talking about. That's what it's going to look like. My drawing is kind of sketch. It'll be okay. But here's the problem. When they give you this, they're only doing one side of this rectangle. So the only part that I feel like you would have messed up unless you looked and you were like, where'd that random 2 come from? There are 2 rectangles here. So your area of this rectangle is gonna be 2xy. 2xy. And again, that all has to do with the fact that it's positive and it's splitting it into two, like one on the left, one on the right. It's already solved for y in terms of x, so we don't have to do any work. We just need to plug it in. Y is the square root. You missed an important part. Y is the square root of 25 minus x squared. You plugged it in. Appreciate it. Not my birthday.
Whose birthday is it? We're all in the-
You would know that if you got a.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry.
This is embarrassing. Everybody knows.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't help it.
This is like the first time I've ever not.
Yeah, me and Mackenzie told this class. We thought it-
Y'all know what this is doing? It is preparing you for college. That is all it's
It's
doing.
preparing me to be a this.
C's get degrees. That's all I gotta tell you.
Us three in there. I said, this is embarrassing. But they've never done this before, and I've made.
Yes, they have. They couldn't last year because COVID. They couldn't the year before because we were out for
I've
COVID.
always had A on roll. I said. this
You'll be all right.
is-
All right.
That was embarrassing.
So now I gotta find the derivative. Weston, can you find this derivative for me?
You
Probably.
got it in the back, no worries. Give me
So you know what I'm gonna tell you. Okay. You don't have to find it. I just want you to put your phone up. You will right now. Or you will take it to Miss Dempsey yourself.
Pressure out.
Put it up right now. Lord, have mercy, I never had nobody talk to me like that. But that got me. All right, find the derivative of this. What do I have to use? The product rule. What do I do? Derivative of the first is 2. That's why you ain't getting no cookies. Well, don't feel bad. Now they put them in the workroom for us to eat.
They were not.
You get your birthday. I don't know.
They came from the cafeteria. Oh, well, the cookies are stuck together. too.
Oh, wait, I saw them in there. I saw them in there. Yeah, I know. All right, derivative of the second.
Could have been one.
We're gonna multiply the first. What's the derivative of 25 minus x squared? 1/2. Perfect. All right. What can I do? This one is fine. There's nothing you can do to it. What about this? You know that this one's gonna go on the bottom. What is half of 2? Or just x? What's x times negative 2x? What do I do now? Doesn't really matter. We found the derivative, so we can set it equal to 0, right? We don't have to find the common denominator. So if we set it equal to 0, what are we gonna do? This is a negative 2x squared, so I can add it to the other side. Understand that finding that common denominator would be the same thing as what you're doing right now, because if we had to find a common denominator, we would multiply this one by the square root of 25 minus x squared, right? What are we gonna do right here? You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. So we're gonna cross multiply, we get 2x squared equals 2 times 25 minus x squared, because the square roots will cancel themselves out. I'm gonna go ahead and divide by 2. What am I gonna do now? Mm-mm. Add x squared. It's okay, it's okay. So I get 2x squared equals 25. So then x squared is 25 over 2. And then you square root. We get 5 over the square root of 2, but I don't like the square root of 2 on the bottom. So I'm gonna multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. And we'll get this. All right. So that's one dimension, that's your x. Remember, we plug it back in. You can plug it into either one, it doesn't matter. Let's go back. We can plug it into y. 25 minus x squared. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, it gives you 5 square root 2. Sorry. Any questions? 25. All right. So again, 25 was probably the weirdest one to do just because of that area formula, and that was it. All right, 29 is pretty easy. Running out of paper. No.
One of the first ones is the head grade.
First, second, and fourth. Those will be his classes, the guy that's coming in next week.
Really?
Yes.
And then something pick up or
He'll pick up where they, if I were him, I'd just start at something, like I'd cut off whatever was there and just start brand new. Just, this is the unit. What? I mean, it's gotta be better than learning online.
I really got the phase of learning.
Mr. Griffin. What do you say? What'd you say? Close. No, it's not. He has taught before, but he's also ex-military and ex-cop.
Oh, he's
Oh, yeah, you never come here again.
That
Can't
class
wait.
is great.
You never.
Good luck. Good luck to you guys.
I mean, there's.
All right.
Worst jobs going on right now. A teacher. Like,
one bad next.
329 for me.
Particular package that a postal service can have a maximum combined weight and girth of 108 inches. Find a dimension of the package has the maximum volume.
This one's really weird. So the perimeter, this one was like the cross section or whatever, is gonna be 108. So if it's the cross section, it's a square, so that's where the 4x comes from. And then the plus y is how long that it would be. And it gives you a 108. And then to find the volume, remember we do length times width times height, but it's a square and like it's a cube around, but it's a long, like it's a stretched out. Does that make sense? Yeah, but I'm just saying, they're not looking at their books. So I'm trying to explain why it's x squared y. Okay, so length and width are going to be the same, and then the height is going to be y. All right, so then put it in terms of x or y, and I'm really lazy, so I just did 108 minus 4x, so that I wouldn't have to divide and be crazy. So your volume is going to equal x squared times 108 minus 4x, which gives you the equation 108x squared minus 4x to the third. We're going to find that derivative. And what are we going to get? 100 times 2 is 200. 8 times 2 is 16. 4x cubed. Well, you redeemed yourself. You got that one. What do I do with it? Set it equal to 0.
What's that?
You can factor out a 12, right?
Yeah, you can factor out a 12x. It gives you 18 minus x squared. I'm sorry, 18 minus x. So we have two answers, guys. Shh. 0 and 18. Again, when you have two answers, you want to do that chart that we did. I'm not making you do the chart. I'm just going to tell you that if you have two answers, that's what you're supposed to do. When you plug it into f prime of x, it gives you less than, greater than, less than. This is a min because it goes from decreasing to increasing. This is a max. We wanted the max. Where is the max at? It's at 18. So how do we find our y? We plug it back in. 108 minus 4 times 18, which is 36. There are your dimensions. "31 asked if you had like a bottle and you squeezed it, does it change your volume?" This is 100% common sense. Why? How do you know it changes your volume?
The bottle, if there's not enough room.
Right. So when you squeeze it, the water comes out, so it will not hold the same amount of water. So 31 is no, the shape changes. It is not, like even if it were a can, the can changes shape. So the volume changes. That's it. And then 33. 33 is a crazy one.
I have a random question.
I'm not surprised.
What is discrete now?
I couldn't tell you.
It's all other math combined.
I know they did work with matrices and stuff like that, but I think they're moving more towards like computer tech math, like
I just heard it's pretty easy.
I don't, because they just changed the curriculum, so I can't tell you what it is, because I don't know what the new curriculum is. I haven't even looked at it. But Miss Tierney can tell
We
you.
should take that, like, instead of taking this.
Yeah.
I should have done that on this one. This hasn't bad.
It depends on
Shut
the.
up.
At least she's optimistic. Stop being so.
Sammy,
aggressive.
I don't want to sit there and complain about not knowing what you're doing.
I never know what I'm doing, but I like it.
You keep your head.
Exactly. I at least answer questions.
You know how
I may be
to-
wrong, but at least I'm admit.
You, Mackenzie, are the queen. Oh, I know. I make it known how I feel.
Wow. Y'all are amazing friends. All right. So what are your two shapes that you have here? It's not a circle because it's volume. You have a cylinder, that's where the pi r squared h comes from. And then it said you had two hemispheres, right? Two hemispheres make a full sphere. So that's the volume of the sphere. So there's where those two formulas come from. So surface area is the other thing they ask about. Surface area of a circle is 4 pi r squared. Surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r h. What?
This is biology.
Yep, you should know this. These are formulas you should know.
It was on the test.
All right, we got to get it in the same terms. So we're going to solve this for h. Yes. We're gonna solve this for H. I think it asked about finding the radius or something like that. So that's why we're gonna solve it for H, so that we can just get R by itself. So when we solve it, we get 14 minus 4/3 pi R cubed over pi R squared. I'm gonna go over that in just a second. So our H is right here. That means we're gonna subtract this whole set right here. So that's where the top comes from. And then we need to get H by itself, so we divide by pi R squared. So I didn't do anything that you don't already know how to do. When you simplify this, you can split them up into 14 pi R squared minus 4/3 pi R cubed over pi R squared. This first fraction will not change. There's nothing that will reduce. But in the other one, your pi and your R squared will cancel out and leave you with 4/3 R. And again, you want to simplify it as much as you can so you don't have a bunch to do in your derivative. So then we plug it into our surface area formula, 4 pi R squared plus 2 pi R times all of that. I'm going to move down here where you can see it. I'm going to clean that up. So we have 4 pi R squared. 2 times 14 is 28. I have a pi R on top and a pi R squared on bottom. What does that leave? What does it leave though? Where? R on the bottom. Did I go with that? 2 times 4/3 is 8/3. We have a pi and 2 R's on the top. And then that's what we're going to take the derivative of. What's your derivative? Oh, wait. Sorry. Look, before we do that, what do you notice? We have like terms. So what is 4 minus 8/3? You can do it in your calculator. I'll do it in mine because I know you're not gonna do it in yours.
1.33.
In fraction form is,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, 4/3.
I don't know, 2.6. I just kind of. That's all I can do. That's about it.
Are y'all good? Okay. Now find the derivative. What's 4/3 times 2? 8 times 4, 4 times 2 is 8 over 3. What else? The pi stays. Remember, it's a constant, so it's going to stay. And then just R. And then what's this going to change to? Look at y'all doing derivatives without having to do any work. I don't know how to do those. Y'all remember when you complained about derivatives?
Yeah.
You still do a little bit, but add your 28 over, so 8/3 pi R equals 28 over R squared. Cross multiply. 8 pi R cubed equals 84 divide by 8 pi. Eighty-four divided by 8 is 21 over 2 pi. How do I get rid of this? Cube root. And then you can put that in your calculator and you get that the cube root is 1.495. So it asks what your radius was. There it is.
Richard told me you shouldn't use a calculator in calculus in college. They won't let her use a calculator.
That's for her.
I was like, Carolina. Maybe I won't there, Carolina. She said the calculus.
Maybe it's just that teacher. You're gonna have multiple calculus teachers, it's the one you pick, so don't pick her teacher.
It said, then we will do whatever calculator.
You'll do whatever what? Isn't he already taking calculus?
He failed. They failed.
Maybe you should have stuck with stats.
I don't think. Did anybody pass it last year?
Calc last year? Yes,
What, like one person?
don't know. I don't have scores. I don't know scores. I know my scores for AP stats. Oh, I'm sure she will.
Me too.
I mean, y'all are so surprised.
No, I
Well, I
was,
wasn't surprised to circle it for.
I didn't realize that class was gonna be that hard. I will say that calc is easy.
Oh, you're
No,
lying.
No, so far it's definitely.
It's just kind of learning stats. I can- It really is all just based on how you learn. You're more formula based.
Well, and you pay attention a lot more when you're sitting at home.
Said the kid who I just told to put his phone up. Yeah, I can tell you who's gonna pass this exam and who's not. I can tell you right now who's gonna do it. I'm not. All right, so here are your two formulas for 35. All right, where you get that square root of 3 over 2, you guys would have to go back to either your trig functions or your 30, 60, 90 rules. I don't know what you were taught, so that's math too. There's nothing I can tell you on that. So it said an equilateral, which means that each angle is 60. This angle would be 30 because you split it in half. And your 30, 60, 90 rule, you could even use trig functions. Says that the height is square root of 3 over 2. So that's where that square root of 3 over 2 comes from. So again, if you have any questions about this, I'm just trying to get through it because we're almost done and we're about out of time. We're going to solve this one for X. So how would I solve it for X? What are my steps? Guys, come on. Minus the 3y, divide by 4. Minus the 3y, divide by 4. So then everywhere I saw an X, I was going to put that in. The reason I did X is because there's only one X over here and there's two Y's, so I don't want to have to plug in twice. Okay, doesn't matter again, whichever one you want to use. So we have 10 minus 3y over 4 squared plus, you can go ahead and multiply these together, square root of 3 over 4y squared if you want to. I would rewrite this as 10 minus 3y squared over 16. So then you don't have to do any kind of chain rule with that. So all I did was square the bottom and I left the top alone. And then take the derivative. So we have 1 over 16 as the beginning. And then I need to take the derivative of the top. How do I do that? Two. To the 1 minus and then times -3. What about this one? I'm gonna go ahead and write it down. And then a lot, but you can see that there's a lot that'll reduce or cancel out. So on this one, 2/16, that'll reduce to 8 on the bottom. So you'll have -3 times 10 minus 3y over 8. 2/4 reduces to 1/2, so we're back to square root of 3/2y. I would go ahead and distribute that 3 in. So -30 plus 9y over 8 plus square root of 3/2y. What do I do to the derivative? Set it equal to 0. So I am going to move this one over. So -30 plus 9y over 8 equals negative square root of 3y over 2. Cross multiply. I get -60 plus 18y equals -8 square root of 3y. And then divide by -8 square root of 3. I'm sorry, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. I didn't see the other y on the other side. What do I need to do? Move this 18 over. So I get -60 equals -8 square root of 3 minus 18y. And then divide by that whole -8 square root of 3 minus 18. You can put that in your calculator or in your book, it'll reduce it. Everything is reducible by 2. And there's bunches of negatives. You guys see that all 3 of them are negative. So I'm going to reduce it by -2. So I get 30/4 square root of 3 plus 9. That is the answer in the book. How do you solve for x? You go back and plug it in up here, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you that it is 10 square root of 3 over 9 plus 4 square root of 3. Any questions? All right, so let me tell you what's going to happen this next week. I will record your 4-7 review. Guys, I don't need you talking right now. This is important for you to listen, okay? So I'll record your 4-7 review and you guys will do that on Monday, but you'll probably go ahead and start your test. Everybody got that? Go ahead and start your test. This is literally gonna be like 10 questions, so it's not gonna take you long. Then what I have planned for you is chapters 1 through 4. You're gonna do some review exercises, and that is it. So that's all you're doing all week. So the only time that you have to learn by yourself is gonna be the 4-7. Everybody got it? Everybody good? Going over this homework, most of your review is within your homework. So as long as you have it, I would probably keep your 4-7 homework for just a little bit so that maybe you can understand the review a little better. You guys can turn it in later. I'm not in a rush on that. Everybody good? All right.